Welcome, 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 everybody. Come on in, come on in, come on in. You know what time it is. It is time for us to talk about closing that racial wealth gap. You know, my friend, my ADOS friend, sent me this presentation. Now I'm gonna let him tell you a little bit about the presentation before we get right into it. And I saw it and I said, you know what? I have to share this with my people. I've got to share this to let them see this important information. So my brother, I have on the line Mark Stevenson. And Mark, can you tell the people a little about who you are and who you initially did this presentation for?
Hey, well, thank you, Sean, for having me on. So this presentation was actually done in front of business leaders and entrepreneurs here in Columbus, Ohio, to talk about issues with housing discrimination and mass incarceration and how they contribute to this racial wealth gap. And I think a lot of times people don't realize the equity and the amount of wealth that people have in home ownership and what that can do to start, economic development, even with your own family. I remember me and you were just talking about Jeff Bezos, and we said, and I told you that, his family gave him $300,000 to start Amazon, along with 22 other family members that gave 50,000. Well, that's $1.5 million almost in liquid cash that he had at his disposal to start the company. Now, most people, ADOS, I can't go to my mother and say, hey, give me $300,000. She doesn't have it, and she doesn't have a home in order to pull that equity out to even do that. So those things, housing discrimination and mass incarceration, has grossly increased the racial wealth gap because it allowed us to be starved out of equity. It started out of economic prosperity. So, and if you go to the first slide on the presentation, we kind of get into like really how did we get here? And people can look and see the timeline. The timeline on how we got here as Black Americans, and you see, 1619 started American slavery. And then around 1776, the Declaration of Independence got adopted. Emancipation Proclamation 1863. And then you see President Roosevelt signed a circular 3591 making slavery illegal around 1942. You see the highlights of Jim Crow, crack cocaine, mass incarceration. And that's really give a shout out to Antonio Moore because I got this from him. And this timeline kind of really breaks down how ADOS, how we get to this point right now. And then, we go on to the wealth inequality in this country. And racial wealth inequality is rampant. It's been rampant. You're talking about the median household income based on wealth. If we go back to 1983, we can kind of look at this, and you see right about that time, whites had about, wealth around 102,000. But look at ADOS down at the bottom down there. We were at 6,800. This was 1983. And then it kind of goes down 1990, right about the height of that crack cocaine, mass incarceration, 1994 crime bill. Then it kind of peaks up a little bit about 2001. That's right after the dot-com boom. So, the economy kind of took a little uptick. And then if you look around, right where the dot started about 10,400, it takes a big dip. And that was in 2008 when the housing crisis hit, where African Americans were getting subprime mortgage loans through Wells Fargo, being discriminated against rightfully by these companies for no particular reason at all, and then foreclosed on. And then now you look at where we're sitting at now, we're just kind of leveled out, we're almost at zero. And $1,233 by 2024 is the estimation, and we already know it says by 2053 that the wealth of a family of four of African Americans, ADOS, is going to be zero. So, looking at that, you see that we don't have no wealth. So, moving on to, we can keep going. We can look at the median income, white wealth versus black wealth. It's the same thing. There's no difference. And this chart here kind of mirrors the one we just saw, and it shows the household. And you can see that ADOS, ours is kind of staying below $15,000 the entire time. And this is over, a 30-year period where the wealth is just nowhere. So this idea that somehow or another, ADOS, we have this American dream that we can go after doesn't make any sense because the numbers don't lie. And we can keep looking. I mean, we can keep going. We can look at how Black West is defined. There's this common myth. Hey, and people always say, well, ADOS, you have to go to college, you can go to college, you can get a good job if you go to college. That's the American dream, right? You go to high school, you get good grades, you go to college, you get good grades, and then once you graduate from college, you go get a good job. Well, this is the median household income network based on race and education. And you see in every category, even less than high school, which is the biggest disparity that I see, ADOS, it doesn't matter. A college graduate, ADOS college graduate, has less median household net worth than a white family with less than high school. And that factors in, you got people who are taking out massive amount of student loans, trying to go get a college degree because that's what we've been told. And I tell anybody that we got sold a bag of nothing. We got sold a dream that was deferred. And all these numbers that we're getting are coming from Dr. Sandy Verity, his report. So these all come out of that report. So we're moving on, and we keep looking at full-time, even worse, race, unemployment. Full-time African-American family, ADOS, $11,000. Full-time white family, $144,000. So this idea that we somehow or another can compete.
Oh, fam. Think we may have lost him. I know he'll dial back and give me one moment.
I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait.
Hang on, fam. He'll call right back in. But while we're waiting on him, let me just say about that presentation. I know some of you may be saying, now, how in the world could a family have, less wealth than somebody that's not employed? I'll just wait on him to come back in. And what you have to understand is we're talking about wealth, right? And so when we're talking about wealth, wealth is different from income. So you may have Jim, who's black, who's making $70,000, and Mike, who's white, he might only make $35,000. But because of the inequality in wealth, remember now, wealth is your assets minus your liabilities. That is what wealth is. And so when you look at that disparity, that's how that could happen. And wealth is also what carries us through those difficult and challenging times. That's what carries us through those hard times. And when we have those little shocks, hold on, fam, let me just let him know that he's we'll drop the call. Get him to call back in. And so, yeah, so wealth is what happens when we have those disparities, and that will carry you through those challenging times. And that's why wealth is so important as opposed to income, which fluctuates, which goes up and down. Wealth will carry you through. And so when we look at those numbers, is it any wonder that when you have that large disparity, well, while blacks, the American descendants of slaves, while they can't get ahead, while we can't get ahead, Because even if you do the right thing, even if you go to school, even if you have financial literacy, let me see, I think you called back in. Hey, Mark. Hey, brother.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Hey, that happens, man. That happens.
I don't know what happened. I think my Bluetooth dropped or something.
That's all right, brother. We're gonna kick it right back in, pick it right where we started, where we left off. We were just out. I was just telling the people about the difference between wealth and income, because when you look at these numbers, right, they're so startling. It's like, how could a black person working full time have less wealth than, I'm sorry, net worth than an unemployed white person? And what I was explaining is, when you're talking about wealth is different than income, right? So wealth is where it is because whites have had an advantage, have had advantage year over year, where the black community has had what we call accrued disadvantage. In other words, we've had challenge after challenge, and so even when you're working, you can have less net worth, assets minus liabilities, than a white family. And so anyway, I'm gonna let you take back over. I know they're probably tired of hearing me talk, and so now that you're back, I appreciate you jumping back on. I'm gonna let you take it from there.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's the thing is, and the reason that most ADOS families don't have any net worth is because people told us to go to college, and we know that we're going to college. We're taking out massive amount of student loans. I saw something the other day where a kid graduated from Morehouse College with $200,000 in student loan debt. Well, his net worth is already zero. Because to even make that up, that means that even if he wants to have a net worth that was $30,000, he would have to have an income, a salary that eclipses that. So he would have to be making at least $40 million to have a $20,000 net worth. And people don't realize that. Like, the amount of debt that we have that has been calcified in our community, that we have accrued over generations, is astronomical. And we don't have mutual funds. We don't have life insurance policies. So if we die, we're transferring money down. We can't afford those things. We don't have 529 college plans so that way our kids can have an education. We can't afford those things. And so if we go to, I think we were on the income quintile.
Yes, that's where we are.
Yeah. Yeah, so the median household income by raising income. If you see, at the same levels, we are gradually behind at the same levels. Median net worth. So over more than $121,000, our median net worth is only $252. There's people who have that much net worth. And so it's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And then, I was talking about home ownership, and that's the next slide. So, I was talking about home ownership, and I said, home ownership net worth by the races. You're looking at how much net worth you have in home ownership. These figures, people say, okay, well, it seems like ADOS, they sitting around about 100,000. But look at our white counterparts. 239,000. Even these non-homeowners, they have almost $3,775, but for non-white homeowners, non-homeowners by white, but we only got $120. That's rental income. That's nothing. We don't have anything. We don't have any net worth. We don't have any net worth. And that happens mainly because of redlining. And that happens because of redlining. And people ask, like, I talk to people all the time, and I say, redlining really did the ADOS family dirty. It really did. People say, well, okay, what's redlining? And then I have to kind of break it down. It was a practice of discrimination in the mortgage lending agency, meaning that, they just kind of drew lines right down neighborhoods and said, okay, we're gonna change this appraisal map. And anybody that's into real estate that knows about appraisals, you know that it's the land value. It's the value of the land and everything around it. So if you got commercial properties in there, they appraise it differently. Residential properties get appraised. They take the figures of the house itself and how much it's worth. So you can go like Zillow, you can kind of like, if you have a house, you can go to Zillow and you can go put your address in there and it'll tell you how much right now your house is on the market for if you want to sell it. And then, but they also made it impossible to get a mortgage because they put so much red tape in there for redlining. They put so much in there. And you had Black people who couldn't get loans, and if they got them, the interest rates were so high that it completely made it virtually impossible for them to include any type of wealth. You're talking about anywhere between 12%, 13%, 14% interest. And then they did the exact same thing to all the commercial development. So if it was a grocery store, if it was a ADOS grocery store, ADOS business, corner market, whatever they had in that community, they devalue the property so much and raised the interest rate so high that it just basically started out. And I saw about 2 years ago, I was reading an article about this guy that does redlining now. He does studies redlining. And he said, when you look at redlining, they systematically drew lines around cities. And then they packed ADOS people into them. So you do a study, like you pack a bunch of rats into like a box. And you don't give them any food. You don't give them no water. And what they do, they become cannibals. Because now they're starved out. If you look at the American ghettos, they were started because of redlining. And that's how it happened. So, and we can go to look at home ownership by the races.
Hey, Mark, really, real quick, let me just touch on this real quick, because what you said is so important about redlining. Is the thing about it is that most people don't understand. It was totally based on race. And so you could have been the doctor, you could have been a lawyer, you could have been what you would consider a professional, right? And because of your race, because you're Black, you were still in that same area. So it didn't matter. You could, so it had nothing to do with the quality of person. Sometimes we talk about, well, they just didn't want to be around poor people, or they just didn't want to be around thugs or anything. Had nothing to do. You could be a teacher, accountant, you name whatever respectability job that they could have had. And because of your color, you're still limited to that same place. Anyway, homeownership by race, Mark, I just had to get that in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And what people don't realize is that this was actually a policy. This was a government policy. And I tell anybody, if you want to know about redlining so much, go back and look at the National Housing Act of 1932. You will see how they did it. This was not just Jim Crow. This was the federal government saying that we are going to systematically put Black people at a disadvantage. And it was totally legal up until they realized and tried to fix it with the Fair Housing Act, in 1964. But for 32 years, this was law. So you think about, I'm about to tell my age here. I'm 41 years old, and you have these for let's say 30 years of your life. This is what's going on in your community. And your family had a house. They can't pass it down to you because it's not worth anything. And you look at the races. We look at home ownership by the races. Since 1983, we've always been around 40-something%. This actually goes back. I actually saw a study that said that home ownership among ADOS has been steady at 40% since 1968. We have not increased at all. We have always stayed around 41%. So, and those are people who buy houses. But look, if you look at whites, compared to white, they're about 70%. That's a big difference. That's a big difference in home ownership because we didn't have the opportunity. And we can go to the next, you know, we can keep looking at it because it doesn't really change, you know, and you know, we talk about home ownership, and we talk about starting the American ghetto. Well, with redlining and home ownership being down, this is what started with mass incarceration. This is how they did it. Hey, we're gonna start you out economically. You can't have home ownership. You don't have no network. This is generational after generation after generation after generation. And somehow or another, where ADOS people were down and out, somehow or another, drugs kind of infiltrated our neighborhood and started an epidemic that the federal government knows they sanction. And, you know, and it started with mass incarceration. And I have to say this. The United States represents 5% of the population. 5% of the total world population resides in the United States. But we represent 25% of the total incarcerated in the entire world. And I'm going to say that again so people understand. The United States has 5% of the total population of the entire world. That's what we have. But we represent 25% of the total incarcerated across every single country in this world. And if you look at the chart, you see the world incarceration rate. And that to me says one thing. This was by design. This was by design. There's no doubt about it. This was by design. You know, and we can go looking at, you know, mass incarceration, criminal activity among men, because this was targeted at Black men. This was targeted at Black men. It was targeted at Black men, and they labeled us super predators, said we have no moral compass. We were just thugs, hooplas, selling crack, doing all these things to our people, and we were the problem. And if you look at the numbers, and these are percentages, look at the percentages. Only 16% of the people that committed criminal activity, if they're Black, ADOS, sold drugs. There's a higher percentage of white people, and this is not just because it's more white people in the country. This is percentage-wise. They sold drugs at a higher percentage than we did. But our risk of arrest is almost 11% higher than theirs. We're at 50% as Black men, as ADOS men. Almost at a 50% arrest rate. So that means that every day that we leave the house, we have about a 50% chance that we're going to get arrested that day. Our risk of incarceration is almost 25%. You look at the whites, theirs is at 5%. So so every day you step out the house, you got a 1 in 4 chance that you're going to get incarcerated for something. These numbers are skewed, and you see we represent a higher percentage of those that are in jail, and triple the amount of Latinos that are in prison, and almost 9 times the amount of whites that are in prison. This was done by design. We represent more people on probation and parole. We're 4 times more likely to be on probation and parole. And we already know that recidivism rates are sky high because once you are in the criminal justice system, their job is to keep you in there. There is nothing to get you out. There is no opportunity. So if you go back to your old neighborhood that's been riddled with crime and income disparities, your chances of going right back to prison are high, very, very high. Because there are no programs for ADOS men when they come out. There are no programs.
Hey, Mark, let me just back up real quick, because I just want to highlight something that you talked about just a minute ago. You know, we consider ourselves the home of the free and the land of the brave, and while we have all this liberty and we're democracy, but look at that incarceration rate. We're higher than Russia, who we say is the evil empire, right? Rwanda, China, Brazil, all these repressive regimes, and it would be almost safer for a black person because of that 666. I think that's prophetic that's that number. We know who makes most of that number. So anyway, I just didn't want to slide past that without us seeing the hypocrisy of us being in a democracy where we're the land of the free, but then we incarcerate more people. Now, wait a minute, more black people than anybody anywhere else. I just had to say that, brother. We're gonna go on to to the next one too. The failed war on drugs. Go on, talk about it, brother.
Yeah. So we talk about this failed war on drugs, right? And I say it failed because this war on drugs was only done for us. You know, and this study, you know, I pulled this up, and because I always like to look at mass incarceration, and everybody talks, you know, for some reason, politicians, their biggest thing is criminal justice reform when they think about ADOS. That's their biggest thing. You know, you tell them what you're going to do for black people. They say, oh, yeah, we're going to fix criminal justice reform. Well, 1.5 million drug arrests we had in the year 2016. 80% of them were for possession only. This possession. Not distribution, not trafficking, not selling, just having it on. They say African Americans, ADOS, experience discrimination at every stage of the judicial system. We are more likely to be stopped, searched, arrested, convicted, harshly sentenced, because we know that happened because of the 1994 crime bill, that they were giving money to states to build more prisons, to hire more police, to stop and frisk ADOS men and women, to give us harsher sentences, to give us the mandatory minimums, to put us in, to incarcerate us, just by creating the prison industrial complex. This is particularly the case with drug laws. And it says, we are twice as likely to be pursued for mandatory minimum sentences of black people as white, who are charged with the same offense. How is that fair? Same offense, but we get the prosecutors are coming after us for mandatory minimum. I know why, because we don't have no money. So we are left, our people, ADOS, we don't have no money to go out and hire a high-powered lawyer. We don't have that. So we're left with the public defender that got 900 cases on his desk. So they're not looking to help us out at any given time to help us fight a case. They're just waiting to try to get us to take a plea deal and go do the time. And you see the numbers. Among the people receiving mandatory minimums in 2011, of course, Latinos were there too. They got 38%, but we were at about a third. A third of the blacks got mandatory minimum sentence. But if you look at the disparities, you look at people in federal prison for drug offenses, Latinos, I think their numbers are kind of skewed, mainly because most of the drug lords are in federal prison for drug trafficking. But look at blacks. 50% are in people in prison for drug offenses. By the states, it's almost even. But then look at the population. We have a less population. We have less than Latinos and less than white. We only represent about 13% of the population, but our percentage is so much higher. That means there's a lot more of us than a lot more of us locked up than it is out on the street. And I think that is very, very tough. So we know what these laws were done to do. And these laws also messed up the black family because you had so many kids growing up in single parent homes. Now, the net worth that we were looking at, that was for an ADOS family of 4. That's a husband, a wife, and 2 kids at the house. And we look at how mass incarceration destroyed the family. 2.7 million children grew up in a household where either one or more of the parents are incarcerated. And 2/3 of the parents incarcerated were for nonviolent offenses, including a substantial number who are incarcerated for drug law violations. 1 in 9 black children have an incarcerated parent, compared to 1 in 57 for white people. 1 in 9. So if I go outside in the ADOS community, I count 9 kids. One of them got somebody that's locked up. I go to a high school, a high school predominantly black high school. I can go in there and count. Every ninth person got somebody locked up. That's disparity. Because that not only messes with wealth, the transfer of wealth, that's poverty. That's that cycle. And you know, people they try to tell us, well, blacks don't have the same opportunity. No, we don't. We don't have the same opportunity. We've already been robbed of home ownership. We've been locked up at record numbers. So what are we supposed to do? And you know, the collateral damage. You know, we go through this. 1 in 13 black people of voting age are denied the right to vote because these laws disenfranchise people with felony convictions. So we can't vote. We can't vote. We don't have the ability to vote because we got that voter right taken from us. We're regulated to be second-class citizens, and I think this is where, Sean. I think this is what people don't realize. This exclusion has relegated millions of ADOS to being second-class status. This disproportionately affecting us. Denied custody, voter rights, employment, business loans, license, student aid, public housing, whatever. If you get convicted of, and I don't think most people realize, if you get convicted of a drug, even if it's just simple possession of marijuana, if you get charged and convicted for possession of marijuana, you don't qualify for federal funds to go to school. So that means that there's no Pell Grant for you. So for an ADOS kid who gets in trouble, maybe at 18 years old, get caught with a little bit of marijuana on, now that kid can't go to school because they don't have the money. They can't afford it. There's no Pell Grant for them. There's no financial aid afforded to them. So we lose them. And then we lose the right to vote. So these politicians, the ones that we are saying they're not doing anything for black people, they can continue on to write laws that affect ADOS because we don't even have the right representation of us. That's why, you know, our numbers are so few. People think that ADOS people don't vote. No, we don't have the ability to vote because it's been taken from us. People don't realize that 1 in 13 black people of voting age are denied the right to vote because of laws that disenfranchise people with felony convictions. 1 in 13 black people. So that means that if I'm out in the street and I go and I can count 13 people, one of them doesn't have the right to vote. That's the consequences of this. This is why this ADOS movement is bigger than just reparations. This is a awakening for the government because they have did this purposely to relegate us to being second-class citizens of this country. You know, Dred Scott said that we were 3/5 of a person. Now we are being relegated to being the permanent bottom caste, and this was by design because these politicians, these white politicians, and whoever else, the gatekeepers that are black, have decided that this is the best way moving forward to keep the wealth at the top and to keep us without getting our juice. So I tell people, they ask me, they say, so what can we do to kind of close the racial wealth gap? And I tell them, there's only one way. There's only one thing that we can do. It's got to be reparations. It's reparations. It has to happen. It is the only thing that can happen to right these wrongs. It is the first step in righting the wrongs of the century of discrimination. Housing, education, and the criminal justice system. And I see somebody ask, what's the solution for our communities? Is it education? Education is part of it, but when you don't have money flowing in, and most people don't realize that property taxes, that's where home ownership comes into play because property taxes pay for the schools. That's what they do. So if you don't have home ownership, then you don't have money to pay for the education inside your school. So whatever it is, it's not going to happen because education alone ain't going to do it. I showed you a slide earlier that said that if you go to college, you still are behind. We're still behind. We're still behind. You know, HR 40 was presented, 30-something years ago. Everybody who's been following ADOS, following HR 40 over the last few months, we see that this bill has been fixed now. But this bill doesn't do anything to address the redress. Okay? It doesn't do that. What it does is develop a commission to try to study what kind of compensation we should get. The data is there. They just need to cut us a check. Period. They need to cut a check. There was a lawyer, Randall Robinson, and if y'all never read his study from back in 1999, I highly advise y'all to go take a look at it. He was an activist with the Trans-African Advocacy Organization. In 1999, he said that the American government owed about 1.4 trillion in losses to African Americans. So ADOS, 1.4 trillion. That was back in 1999. Robert Brown, he came out with it, and he said, it's between 1.4 and 4.7. So roughly about $142,000 for every Black American living today. Now, I don't know about you, $142,000 seems like a small amount because of all the redress. But if you got a family of 4 and you get $142,000 for everybody that's in your family, that money can go a lot of ways. That's starting a business. That's closing the gap. But you have to have that first, because you can't do anything else if we don't get cash reparations first, because that is what's going to set off the economic boom that we need. And to anybody who is against reparations for ADOS, I don't know what to tell them besides look at the data. Look at the data, study the data, because it is clear what needs to happen. It's clear what needs to happen. The government has to cut a check. You can't come in and say you're going to fund HBCUs. That's not going to do it. Education is not going to do it by itself. You can't say you're going to fix the criminal justice system. That ain't going to do it. You can't say, oh, we're going to kind of fix some stuff in housing. No, we need money to set off an economic problem that this country ain't never seen. Because with all this buying power, they say this mythical buying power that the ADOS have, people say we got this $1.7 trillion worth of buying power, but that's just for just bare necessity. We don't own businesses, we don't own banks, we don't own hospitals, we don't own anything. So with this money, we can take our rightful place and be the citizens that we are, because we are citizens of the United States, and the government needs to recognize that. And they can't keep discriminating against us and keeping us in a permanent bottom class. So, Sean, you got anything else?
Well, no, brother. Let me just go to some questions, and I'm just gonna throw these out here to you because I know you get them all the time, and I know I get them all the time when we're talking about reparations. When we're talking about ADOS. And let me also say that if you want to know more about what we're talking about, go to ADOS101.com. A lot of great information there about a breakdown and about some solutions that revolve around a whole package of reparations. And so, Mark, let's play a little devil advocacy with you right here. What about the people that say ADOS is anti-immigrant?
I get that all the time. I actually, last week when I was talking to people about reparations and this very topic that we're talking about, this PowerPoint, I got asked that by a immigrant. It said that, hey, I heard that ADOS is anti-immigrant. I said, no, we're not anti-immigrant. We believe if you were a descendant, especially like Caribbean, if you're a Caribbean descendant of the slaves, then whatever country enslaved your people, you should go after reparations. So if it's Haiti and you want to go get reparations from France because they made y'all pay them for taking you all out of slavery, and people don't realize that the Haitian government is still slavery because they decided that they wanted to revolt and become their own sovereign nation, but they had to pay redress to France for that. If they want to turn around and say, you know what, no, we're not paying y'all no more, y'all need to be paying us, then go get that. If it's Jamaica and they want to go dealing with through CARICOM and go dealing with the British and whoever else that was enslaving them, be our guest. Go ahead and do that. We're not anti-immigrant. We're just saying the issue that we have does not deal with the black immigrant. This is the descendants of American chattel slavery. And we are descendants of chattel slavery here in America. Our ancestors dealt with this. They dealt with not just slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, separate but equal, war on drugs, mass incarceration. The American black dealt with that, not an immigrant, because up until 1964, most black immigrants weren't even allowed to be in the United States. It wasn't until 1964 that they were allowed to even immigrate into the country. So all the redress was already done. All the damage had already been done. Redline had already happened. So we're not anti-immigrant. We just say that you don't deserve reparations from the American government. Period.
I know.
You know, and I don't understand why that's so hard for black immigrants to understand that, or people who say that we're anti-immigrant. We're not. We have a direct problem, a direct issue with the American government and redress that needs to be done for the descendants of American chattel slavery.
All right, brother. What about the ones that say, you know what, this all sounds well and good, but so until then, you just want to sit around. I guess we're not supposed to do nothing. Just sit around and wait on the white man, on white zaddy, to give us a check.
you know. At this point, I laugh when I hear that, because I saw that on Twitter earlier today. Somebody said that. They were like, "Y'all that's like welfare." Like, this is not welfare. This is money that's owed to us. And anybody that knows anything about this country, which the history has been skewed, but we have seen numbers that the 4 million enslaved Africans, our ancestors, at 1865, they were worth more to the government than the actual crops that they were actually producing. So they were worth more than cotton, they were worth more than the fruit, the beans, and everything else, the tobacco, whatever it is that they were cropping for their slave masters. They were worth more than that, to the tune of almost $3 billion. Every institution in this country has benefited on the back of our ancestors, and people don't realize that. You're talking about the insurance companies who are taking out policies on slaves. So if they die, their slave owner got money for them. You talked about the financial institutions, the banks. You talked about every single fabric of this America. Our ancestors built this country. It built the economic power of this country. Was built on the back of slave labor. So to say that we waiting on a check, no, we're not waiting on anything. We want the money that the government extracted from our ancestors to come back to us, so that way we can transfer that wealth to our ancestors, so we can transfer that to our generation and the generation after that. That's all we want. We just want the money that was taken from us. That's all it is.
Absolutely. And also, just along those same lines, let me also say that this movement is about reparations, one piece of it. But yes, absolutely, continue to get good grades, continue to start businesses, continue to get good jobs, continue to do all the things that you do as an American. But understand, all that you do will not uplift a community. It may uplift you individually. But if you're talking about uplift of a community, the only solution is reparations. So I don't understand why any Black American person would be against reparations. I mean, to me, it just seems like you would just say, okay, I'm gonna still do my thing over here, but here, let me sign on with you guys. Let me help you guys. Let me support you guys while I'm still doing my thing. Deborah brought up a good point What, Mark? What about the ones that say, "Look, man, all that sounds great and wonderful, but we just got to beat Trump, man. We'll beat him this time, and we'll get you on the next go round." What about them?
Let me tell you. You know, that's funny because I was watching Van Jones about 3 weeks ago, and he actually said that. He actually came out his mouth and said, Black people are going to have to bite the bullet, swallow our pride to beat Trump. And I laughed because I said, we have been doing this since we've had the right to vote. We have been taking it for the team since we've had the right to vote. And all we have gotten is pipe dreams and bells and whistles, politicians coming into our neighborhood, going to Black churches, meeting with elected officials, business owners, people, putting hot sauce on the table, listening to rap music, doing everything they can pander to us to get us to vote, and they have yet to provide policy and initiatives to right the wrongs of this country. So I say this, if you want my vote, you have to talk to me about why I should vote for you. And it better be policy, because I'm not casting no more votes on just because we need to beat Trump. Because right now, Trump is not doing anything that is bothering me. I'm not an immigrant, so I'm not worried about getting deported. And that's the big thing. You know, they want to talk about immigrant rights. But what about the rights of African Americans? What about the rights of ADOS? What about us? What about our rights? What about all the things that are going on in this country that can be solved if you do right by us? So look, it's either a Black agenda or ain't no vote. You can't keep pandering to us because you don't like Donald Trump. We have had 44 Donald Trumps before him.
Wait a minute, Mark. Don't you mean 43, man? I mean, I think I remember one that wasn't quite like, we'll say one of these things are not like the other. You mean 43, right?
No, I mean 44. and the number 44 was even worse than the other 44 of them. You know, because he didn't do it. He had the opportunity to set the country on a right path. He galvanized ADOS people to come out and vote in record numbers. And 2 years into his presidency, he said he didn't believe in reparations. He did everything else for everybody else, but did not address one single problem in the Black community. All we got was Amazing Grace, and you know, that's what we got. We got Amazing Grace and a black face. That's what we got. We didn't get anything. We didn't get anything for our vote. We didn't get no policy. He had the highest amount of unarmed Black men getting killed by cops. He had the highest number of African Americans losing their homes because of the mortgage crisis, losing wealth. Everything happened, and he would look just like us and didn't do anything. So no. We've had our Trump, and it's time that this country be reset and do it the right way. Because I firmly believe you take care of ADOS people, you're gonna take care of the rest of this country. Because we spend money, we're gonna invest, we're gonna do everything the right way. And I don't subscribe to the idea that you give Black people money, they're gonna go out and buy toys. Because that's not what we're doing right now. Because I saw that earlier too. Well, you give Black people money, all they gonna do is go buy stuff that ain't got no business buying. You can't. Nobody tells white people what to do with their money. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't tell Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates what to do with their money. So if they want to go out and buy a helicopter, buy a plane, we don't say, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. So who are you to tell me what I should do with my money? Because like I think Deborah said it in the chat, selling would not accomplish anything at all. We can't settle no more. We cannot settle no more. We have to demand that our politicians do right by them, or they need to be primary. We need to get ADOS people to sit in these seats and do right by ADOS people, because we got a Congressional Black Caucus that is doing absolutely nothing for us. And I don't realize that. I don't think people realize that. We got about 45 of them, and they don't do anything. All you see is immigrant stuff. You know, DACA and everything else. That's another thing that President Obama did. He did a lot of stuff with DACA, you know, but he deported a lot of people too. He deported more than Trump did.
I think they call yeah, that's what I was about to say. They call him the deported in chief, man. You know, I think we might have had some converts, man, but I think we may have lost them when we started talking about President Obama. But oh well, you know, if we lose because of that, then that is what it is, man. But we, man,
we need to wake up.
Hey, brother, that's all we're here to do, baby. We're just here to share some information, wake some people up, get some people on board with the movement. So before I give you the last word, let me just give a few people a few updates. If you want more information about the ADOS agenda, www.ados101.com has a lot of great information there. If you want to join the movement for reparations, ending mass incarceration, and helping close the racial wealth gap, join our book club group. It's ADOCS. It's www.adocsfamily.com, and I put that in the chat as well. And also, hey, do me a favor, subscribe to my YouTube channel, ShawneeHill.com, and you know we're going to get some great information from people like Mark, myself, and I'm going to have a lot of great people on from the ADOS community. Man, I appreciate the time you spent with us. Hopefully we can do more of these where we can just continue to spread this good word. Anything else you want to say in closing?
I just want to say thank you for asking me to come out and do this with you. I appreciate it. Check out Breaking Brown. Check out Yvette Parnell's page, her YouTube channel as well. Check out Tone Talks, Antonio Moore. You know, if y'all want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at M_Stevenson78. We have ADOS local groups that are springing up all over the country.
Yes.
Get involved, get active. Hashtag ADOS on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and let's go get this money. Let's make the American people, let's make the American government do what it's supposed to do. Tomorrow, we have a big campaign going on for HR 40. Check us out on Twitter. We're gonna be going at it. So you know, I appreciate the time, man, and I look forward to talking to you more in the future.
You know it, brother. We're gonna stay on it, brother. ADOS, yes, ADOS, not ADOS, but ADOS. American Descendants of Slavery, not slaves, American Descendants of Slavery. Well, brother, like I said, I'm going to give you back to your family. I thank everybody that's taking time to get on here with us. Share this video, because this is the type of information that needs to get out there. The days of the CBC stealing checks, those days gone. The days of us giving away our votes for nothing and expecting nothing in return, those days are gone. Tangibles 2020, B1, Foundational Black Americans, the black media is on the move. So with that being said, my brother, and everybody else that's listening, I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you later. Goodbye.